I'm super excited today because we are visiting Battery Point Lighthouse in Crescent City, California.
If you're visiting Crescent City, California, then you probably will see Battery Point Lighthouse somewhere in the distance. It's a historic lighthouse and you can see it from lots of different places in Crescent City, but if you want to get right up close to it, then you'll have to plan your trip around the tides. Since the lighthouse is just right outside town, then it's really easy to get there. You'll just drive down Front Street until it dead ends. Then you'll turn left onto Lighthouse Way, and that street ends at the parking area to the lighthouse. You can even see the lighthouse right from the parking area, and parking is free. From the parking area, you will see a sign that has some more information about the tour schedule and the lighthouse. You will also see the start of the path that leads down to the beach. You're gonna go check out Battery Point Lighthouse. And if you're gonna come here, you have to first make sure that the tide is low, because when the tide's in, then it actually water covers up the pathway that goes to the lighthouse. But right now it just happens to be low tide, and so we're gonna walk across and go check it out. The path down to the beach is a wooden path that is quick and easy. After you get off the wooden pathway, you will just continue towards the lighthouse. If it is high tide, the trail to the lighthouse will be completely covered in water. When it is low tide, you will clearly see the rocky pathway that goes out to the tiny island that the Battery Point Lighthouse sits on. Okay guys, so there's the little pathway from the parking area, and then it takes you right down to the beach. So we just got down to the beach, and then you can see over there where the people are walking. That is where you walk across to get to the lighthouse, and it just got to be low tide, so we might even see some tide pools. The most important thing about planning your trip is to make sure that you go when it's low tide. And you can also see off in the distance behind me this big thing that goes out in the water there. That's called the jetty, and you're not actually supposed to walk on it because it's really dangerous. And the waves come and you can get wiped off, so don't walk out there. But this pathway is safe. You just have to make sure that it's low tide. The trail is pretty easy and the rocks are small rocks, so it's not too hard to walk out there. So this area here where there's the pathway to the lighthouse, this is the area that all gets covered in water when the tide is in. So there's some tide pools if you look down here when the tide's out, which is kind of fun to explore too. Okay, we just got done checking out the tide pools a little bit. Now we're gonna walk up to go see the lighthouse. After you finish walking over the rocky pathway, you start up a cement walkway that leads up to the hill and to the lighthouse. Okay, so we're walking up the little cement hill that leads to the lighthouse. And walking across it wasn't too bad. It was kind of gravelly, but there wasn't any crazy like rocks or anything that you had to walk over, so it was pretty easy. During the California Gold Rush in the mid-1800s, the coast of California became an important place for shipping timber for the mines and to build new cities. Ships were used to bring people and supplies to California. Crescent City was also a popular place for its fishing and timber industries. Due to the increase in ships, the town needed a way to protect them from the rocky coastline, so they built the lighthouse. Guys, we just made it to right where the lighthouse is, and right now we're visiting in July of 2020, and it's during the COVID time, and so they're not doing tours, but normally you can actually, if you come at the right time, you can go walk through the lighthouse and do a tour, and they show you the lighthouse, and then they take you up some stairs up into the top where you can walk around the actual light at the top. But we can't go in today, but it's still fun to come check it out and look at everything around it. Battery Point Lighthouse actually offers tours to the public to walk inside the lighthouse and see the historic furniture and artifacts left behind from the 1850s. You get to see how the lighthouse keepers lived, and you even get to walk up into the lighthouse tower. I toured the lighthouse in the past, but due to social distancing, they were not offering tours when we visited in July of 2020. So once you get up here to the lighthouse, it's kind of cool because there's a bunch of different like pathways that leads around. So you can walk all the way around the like the little rock island thing that is here on, and you can
walk up there and check things out, and so it's kind of cool because you can still walk around and explore.
Even though we didn't get to go inside the lighthouse, it was still fun getting up close to it and exploring the island. There are some other historic buildings, some really cool carvings, and some amazing views of the ocean.
This is kind of a cool carving behind me. It's shaped in the shape of a whale.
There's a little trail that winds along the island, and you can even walk back behind the lighthouse. The lighthouse is currently registered as a California Historic Landmark, and it is an active lighthouse. It was one of the first lighthouses on the West Coast, and it was first lit on December 10th, 1856. Through the years, there have been many different lighthouse keepers that have operated and lived in the lighthouse.
So this is kind of cool. It has a little plaque that tells a little bit about the lighthouse, and it says that Battery Point Lighthouse was one of the first lighthouses on California's coast, and that it was opened in 1856. So over here you can see Crescent City back behind us in the distance, and then behind me is the lighthouse. And when I was doing a little bit of research on the lighthouse, it was really interesting to find that there was actually lighthouse keepers living here at the time in 1964 when a big tsunami hit Crescent City, California, and it was like the biggest tsunami in the history of the United States. And I think 11 people died and a bunch of houses got wiped out, but the light keepers that were here were actually here stuck on this rock during the tsunami, so they watched everything come in and they watched the whole town behind us over here get destroyed. And I was just thinking to myself how scary it would be to be here during that time and just watching the tsunami come in.
Another cool fact about Battery Point Lighthouse is that in 1994, country singer Tim McGraw filmed his popular music video for his song Not a Moment Too Soon while standing on top of the lighthouse. You can even go on YouTube and watch the video and see the lighthouse. It's kind of cool.
Okay, so we just got done checking out the lighthouse and it's really cool. I wish that we could go inside. That would be even funner, but it was still fun checking it out. But one thing to keep in mind is if you are gonna come walk over to the lighthouse, make sure you have enough time that it's low tide so that you could walk in, check it out, and then get back to your car before the tide comes in. Because if you're here when the tide comes in, then you won't be able to walk back to your car and you'll have to wait a while. So, but it's pretty cool and it was fun to walk around it. Thank you guys for visiting Battery Point Lighthouse with us.
Please subscribe to see more fun destinations and places to explore.